Hey guys, my name is Alex and welcome to this video on Wurm Unlimited getting started. From my experience, I found a lot of videos that are very long and drawn out and don't really explain much, and it takes you forever to get anything quick. So I'm trying to do this to basically get new players into the game very fast and efficiently. So I'm gonna hop right into it. So when you open Wurm, you start with the launcher, which is this. In the top right hand here you have the name. This is what your name in game shows. If you click this little gear, this Wurm, it says Wurm Online, but the game is Wurm Unlimited in Steam. This is the in-game options that show up. It's basically just graphic options and stuff like that. I shouldn't really need to go through this, so if you want a more in-depth video, you can ask me about it, but there are your settings. One thing I will note is the full screen I've found does crash my game, and a few other people I've talked to say it too, so if you want to play full screen, I recommend windowed full screen. Down here, dedicated server. This is if you basically want to host your own server. Again, if you guys want more detail, just let me know. Server filter lets you basically filter through the list of servers. So now if you click manage local server, you'll get a CMD that pops up that shows you everything you need to know about the server itself, and then this is what shows up for the actual server. So there are two game types. Creative is not creative that you might think. You don't spawn and have access to everything, flight and all that kind of stuff. Creative basically just means that when you launch the game, you start in a world that's completely empty with no other kingdoms. I'll explain kingdoms a little bit more once I get into the game, but basically just know that when you spawn as just your own person with your friends, and officially it's still part of a kingdom, but it's called the Freedom Isles, so there's no towns or anything associated with it. Adventure, on the other hand, is a PvP kind of thing. Creative, also known as PvE. The adventure is when you spawn, you pick a kingdom, and then you spawn in a kingdom town, and there's other kingdom towns around, and your kingdom also has many towns. So it's more of a story-based thing from my experience. I haven't enjoyed adventure, so I don't use it. So I will be doing this series in creative mode, but if you want to know more about adventure, again, let me know, and I will speak more about that. When you come into local server, your server name is basically what shows up in this search list. Most of these settings I'm going to be skipping because there's no point in really explaining them. Home server, if I really need to explain it, it's basically, it's right there what it says. It's basically just a server that has one kingdom. So in creative, there's still the one kingdom. It's the Freedom Isles, as I said. And it's basically just, you're still part of a kingdom, so you can create settlements, which lets basically you stay safe. And then if you hop into advanced settings down here, the two things that I really want to emphasize on is newbie friendly. What it is basically the higher tier mobs won't spawn, so you're safer. And then random spawn point, so if you play creative and you want to spawn in a specific spot on the map and you want all of your friends to spawn on the same spot you're spawning, so you just have one central spawn point, turn that off, and then you can either just leave this to the defaults or you can set a specific one. These X and Y's I found on the Wurm forum. I will link in the description, so if you guys want to use this specific one and read up as to where I found it, information will be there. But so for this series I will be using these coordinates. And then if I scroll down here, this is the most important. So the skill gain multiplier on Wurm Online, it's officially 1. Because you're going to be playing single player, 10 is what the defaults are for the action speed multiplier and the skill gain. Personally, for what I found, this a little bit too fast, but that's only from my experience, so I like to drop it down to 3. I'll leave it at 10 for now. Character start value, always start at 20. Mind logic and body control, I personally always drop to 20, and the reason being is because mind logic basically means at specific mind logic numbers you can control different vehicle sizes. If you start at 25, you can essentially control every single vehicle in the game already, which isn't really much fun because you want to kind of build your skills and build up to better vehicles. But if you're someone who just wants to have access to everything, then I mean, leave that 25. Body control is essentially the skill that lets you control what you're mounting. So if you want to mount a horse or anything like that, again, you need higher skills, and both of these can be trained through just doing things like digging and mining, stuff like that. So it's more fun to keep them at 20 and then build up to it. And the reason why I say 20 is because these take a lot longer to build up. But for example, a large cart you can start controlling with mind logic at 20.1. So that puts into perspective a little bit how long it takes to gain these skills, but it's a lot more fun for the longer end run. Fighting skill, always start at 10, because if you spawn in the server and you don't have a fighting skill of 10 and you do end up getting attacked by something, you're basically screwed. Overall skills I personally will start at 1 because I want to start my skills at 1 and then build them up. Player combat rating modifier, this is again like the skill gain multiplier and all that kind of stuff. It's basically how fast you'll gain the skill and how much better you do. Action speed multiplier is how fast you do tasks like digging and stuff like that. If you want to have lower digging times, you want to progress the game faster, increase this number or lower it. Maximum creatures, the amount of creatures that can spawn on the map at a given time. The map is very large, so 10,000 tends to work. If you're finding you don't have enough of them, then you can always have more. Aggressive creature percent is basically if you have max creatures, so 10% of that would be 9,000. Sorry, 10% would be 1,000, 9,000 would be 90%, so it means that there's 9,000 max creatures that will be spawning that are passive, so like cows, horses, stuff like that, and then the other 1,000 will be aggressive. So if you want more aggressive creatures, increase that number. If you want less, then decrease it. And if you just want more passive creatures in general, then just increase this number. Settlement and deeds I'll talk more about in game, but deeding is basically your own settlement, which lets you have a Spirit Templar, which basically lets you have, in the game there's tiles. Each tile is the specific size of your settlement, so if you want to have no deeding cost, what that means when you start the settlement there won't be a cost for it, but then settlement upkeep is basically once the deed's created, if after as the deed progresses through time you'll have to pay for it. If you're playing single player you don't really need to turn that on, but if you're going to play on a server you should turn it on. With no deed cost enabled, you do start with, I believe it's 2.5 silver in your coffers, so you will have already about a month or so paid for automatically, so that upkeep's just there so that it can prevent people from creating alternate accounts and basically just spamming your server with deeds. Trader money, maximum money that they can carry, initial money and silver and that kind of stuff. Field growth timer in the hour, so every hour fields will grow. On a server I tend to increase this up to 24 because I want to play with my friends and no one can log on every hour. If the field grows 1 tick, it'll become full of weeds and you need to clean it out. If you don't do it before the 2nd tick, then the field basically becomes overgrown and you can't harvest from it then. You basically need to destroy it and replant. So I recommend increasing that higher up for a server, but if you're playing just solid single player, then 1 is fine because every hour you just need to check on your fields. Also, the way servers work is if you have the server up and running, time in game is running. As soon as you shut the server down, the time stops. So if you are playing single player and you only turn the server on when you're playing, then that's a fine time. Tree spread odds, this is I believe percentage, I'm not too sure on this one. Yeah, so it's just what are the percentages of, or the odds that a tree will spawn, and I believe that is a percentage. Money pool and silver, that one is I believe something more server related. So yeah, so that's kind of the important stuff. Server server travel, and then players, server neighbor and server travel I'm not going to go into. If you want me to I can, but again that's for another video. Here's your player name, your coordinates. Game management power is basically like god mode in game. It goes from 0 to 5. If you want more information on that, again just look up Wurmpedia, honestly. 5 is essentially just pure god mode. You have access to the ebony wand, which gives you you can right click tiles and see all the stats and all that kind of stuff. That's more again for server stuff. And then players undead or not, I'm gonna uncheck that actually and then save that. So once you go back here now, if you start the server offline, your command prompt will do some very interesting things and kind of freeze up a little bit. So Wurm did end up crashing. I relaunched it, and once I started the server, this is what changed. It basically says server shutdown, and then it's a 10 seconds shutdown. So once you shut it down, after 10 seconds the server itself will close. So I've realized this video is about the 10-minute mark, a little bit under, and that's for the Wurm launcher. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to quickly explain it. So I will, in the next video for the part 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain in game how digging and all that kind of stuff works and get you really into the game. And then my plans forward after that, I'm going to actually be starting a proper series on my own personal server, which I will be playing, which I have friends playing on it, but most of the time will most likely just be me on it, and I'm going to be doing a bigger series off of that. But for now, that's going to be it from me, guys. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. and see y'all later.